unsafe secondary markets because they could not afford it for the legitimate markets.
Well, I'm hiding.
Today we begin to write that check.
They have other candidates to
Get
go.
better. Her grandmother at a pharmacy counter converted millions of Americans who want to restore their health. Today is about another promise made by President Trump and another promise kept by President Trump to the American people. It's only just the beginning. This is all thanks to your unwavering leadership.
That's like one little hop around.
There is a fine line between vision and hallucination. People have to follow you for it to be a vision. And President Trump, you made a lot of people follow you, an idea that most people thought was not possible, even remotely. And when we have that shared vision, and I'll speak to some of the people who are involved in this process, because it was incredible effort that gives me great pride to serve in this administration. And the fact that it did not leak is also an issue of pride for us, because these are tough challenges. And Albert Bourla looks very calm up here in Lamplight, but he's ferocious when you get him in a negotiating room. This is true for all the pharmaceutical companies that we are negotiating with. And Secretary Kennedy, my son Oliver, who I told about this deal as I was walking over here, is a Republican. And you know what he said? Thank you for making us proud. Because it's not just a Democratic problem, it's a Republican problem. This has not happened before. And it took a crusader like President Trump, with the support of Secretary Kennedy, Secretary Lutnick, I see the Vice President's here as well, just unwavering, dogged pursuit of change. And now I have to admit that I know the President has me on speed dial, and most of the time when he would call me, and Secretary Kennedy alluded to, it was about MFN, and he always had reasons why we needed to go faster, why people were being hurt today, because we're allowing the kinds of pricing that had been tolerated for so many decades in America. The time of the day didn't matter, the day of the week didn't matter, and that's how the President was functioning. This was such an important part of what he saw as his legacy, which is why it brings such pride to all of us up here, and many others to deliver it. And the laser focus that the President had on this, which he shared with me the day that I was nominated, that he nominated me for this position, and has reminded me frequently since, made it a top priority for us as well as CMS. Now, to do this, you have to have tactics, not just vision, but tactics. And the first tactic the President shared was to introduce me to Albert Bourla. He took us to dinner with Secretary Kennedy, and he argued, and he's a great deal maker, as you know, that if you're going to make a deal of this scope, of this nature, you need trust. So the President lit the kindling, he got the embers going, but he needed us to nurture that beginning of a fire so they would blaze into what today we can announce as the grand deal, one of the greatest ever, certainly in the space of pharmaceuticals. I gained the respect of Albert, and I'll tell you why, in particular. It was because he recognized the dangerous problems facing so many Americans, that they have to choose between taking medications prescribed by their doctor that could be life-saving, or shopping at the grocery store, paying for their kids a fundamentally important need that would be squeezed out because they couldn't compromise on drugs, or often worse, they compromised on the drugs. 1/3 of all prescriptions are not filled in the pharmacy because of this. We talked through the winter, we talked through the spring, we talked through the summer, and we got nowhere. We stalled. The industry is powerful, important, they have smart people, there's no reason for them to give numbers that the President is articulating today. You see these numbers on the charts around us. These are massive wins for the American people. But the President in July demanded, after the executive order, that manufacturers make a firm commitment and to lower prices or else. And it sent shockwaves through the industry. It got the ball rolling again. Our talks with Albert heated up. But it wasn't until last week, if you want an inside story, it wasn't until last week that we made a major breakthrough. And our hardworking team embarked on a remarkable story that I think books will be written about, 24/7 nonstop with industry, with Albert, with his great team at Pfizer. And with this partnership, we began to deal with the fundamental challenges we have, which is protecting medical advances for the future, while at the same time securing the prices Americans want today. We're going to continue to stimulate and strengthen innovation. That's what a great country does, and we are a great country with a great leader. We're going to protect the U.S. hegemony in R&D. We dominate the planet in discovering cures for illnesses. All those orphan ailments, all those remarkable advances, they come from research labs here with companies like Pfizer and other great ones in the pharmaceutical space. We're going to lead in the life sciences. We're going to lead in ideas. And we're going to make sure that we do all that while we're being fair to the American people, especially our most vulnerable. We're going to finally deliver on the fair drug prices that President Trump is speaking about for 2 terms. We're going to celebrate this historic day, I predict, this historic day in the medical field for generations to come. The heroic negotiators that I do feel compelled to mention, and Secretary Kennedy kindly also mentioned their names. Some of them can't be in here because they're busy negotiating future deals. Isma Hernandez-Delso, John Brooks, who's a deputy administrator of mine, Theo Merkel, who's in the back and tall and hard to miss with DPC, and Corey Ensler with the same group, did a spectacular job, and Don Dempsey at OMB. Just wonderful human beings, worked tirelessly to get this done. We were able to secure this first MFN deal, and the President touched on this, but we have much more to come. You'll be hearing breaking news from the President for the rest of the fall. And Mr. President, these brilliant minds are here because of you. Now, I don't want to just pay homage to this, I want to actually speak this a little bit. The passion to protect the American people brings top-tier Americans into the government. We've created a powerful administration with the President's leadership, an administration of winners. People get things done. They see the generational opportunity to fix the biggest problems our nation faces. And the person who led this negotiation, Chris Clump, embodies this seal. Now, Chris Clump came to visit Secretary Kennedy and I the very first day we were looking for staff to try to bring in the government. And neither of us really had an idea of how challenging this might be. And he came to the interview, and we knew that he'd built a business that was worth several $100 million. And the secretary, very poker-faced as he tends to be, looked at him and said, "Are you willing to give it all up and move your family to Washington?" A young family, 4 young children, beautiful wife. "Are you willing to come across the country and serve our nation, serve this president, to ensure vital programs like Medicare, which he runs, will keep our seniors healthy for years to come?" He gave it all up, like so many have in this administration, passionate to follow the president's lead and serve under Secretary Kennedy. And for those of you at home who are watching, and I hope there are quite a few, I think this shows just how cool a place it is to work within this government. And I take great pride in handing the ball to Chris. Chris, tell the American people what they've won, thanks to your passionate ability to deliver on President Trump's promise.
Everyone has said was impossible. And Secretary Kennedy and Administrator Oz, thank you for having trust in us as a negotiating team to drive this forward on behalf of the American people. It is an absolute honor and privilege. And Mr. Borlaug, to you and to the team advisor, you have taken a step that I think you appreciate.
Can I have a look at
level of courage to change something that for decades administrations have tried. And there was no incentive rationally for you to do because you recognize the opportunity to align your economic interests with the social interests of the United. Today is historic. Scott, this is a major win in the battle for healthcare.
I haven't been on Microsoft anyway yet.
On average, we pay nearly 3 times what the rest of the wealthy world pays for branded pharmaceuticals. And yet we drive more than 50% of global R&D, 50% of revenue, nearly 70% of profits. It's unjust. It's morally unjust. And when this happens, we stifle innovation and we limit access for the most vulnerable people across the planet and in America who need these medications. So the president directed us to make deals. It's what he does, and it's what we do. And all great deals, and this is a great deal, are rooted in principles. And this deal was rooted in principles of fairness. Now, the president could have directed us to go to the poorest country on the planet and find the cheapest price for every single drug and bring that back to the United States and use the might of the government to insist that that's the price we pay. And that might have worked, actually, for just a little bit. But very quickly, it would have utterly destroyed innovation in pharmaceuticals. It would have destroyed American primacy in building life-saving medications. There are nearly 20,000 known diseases on the planet. We have treatments or cures for far fewer than 10% of them. So that would have been a bad strategy. It would have limited access to those who need those medications the most. But he didn't call for that. He didn't call for 50% lower than the lowest price on the planet. What he called for was fairness. And that's a powerful principle because we all grow up wanting to be on the right side of fair. And it allowed us to do what has not been done before, which is to call on manufacturers and ask them to be fair. And allows us to go to countries and ask them to pay their fair share in the battle against disease. And that is the unlock for this right here. Now, it's my privilege to talk just for a few minutes about the details of the deal. First, let's start with the definition of MFN. What do we mean by that? This is not made-up list prices that have often been quoted in prior administrations, stuffed with fees and rebates. We're talking about we start at net prices, after rebates, the prices people actually pay here, the prices people actually pay in other wealthy countries. We then index to a basket of countries, wealthy countries, across the world. And we go drug by drug, and we look for the lowest price, and that becomes the starting point
I'm going off of Uber
for what is
Eats.
netted
And no one paid
MFN
me.
prices in the United States. And then we built this principles of fairness on 5 key pillars, as we talked about. Number 1, as has been discussed, direct access for patients. At Trump RX, which is a site soon to be launched, available often at full MFN and always at lower prices than currently available. This is bypassing middlemen. It increases transparency. In many instances, prices are 80% lower than they are today. No more Canadian detours to purchase drugs more inexpensively at our neighbor. You do it from home. You do it at click. This is American ingenuity outsmarting the system. Number 2, the president was very clear to us and directed us to ensure that we secure the lowest prices for the most vulnerable Americans, those who are served by Medicaid. So we focused there first. So Pfizer will be putting virtually all of its at MFN prices available for Medicaid in the near future. This safeguards the program. This ensures that this program lives as a lifeline without undue burden on the taxpayer for those who need it most, for our vulnerable Americans who we are charged for.
It'll fall within a year or two.
The third principle is about
Just get skin
future-proofing
removal
fairness.
surgery.
This is the idea. Pfizer has committed, as are other manufacturers, that they will not launch a new drug for commercial Medicare, Medicaid, and cash pay markets at a price
About
that is
180,
higher
190.
than the other wealthy world. Now, they are free to price their drugs wherever they want. These are not price caps. These are not price controls. They can price however they'd like. We're simply asking them if they are committing not to undercut us in other countries. This is an essential principle. This allows us to retrain other countries to appropriately value innovation for their success, to appropriately understand what fair share means, to contribute global R&D. This allows us not to compromise access to those who need it most. This is the fourth principle is around shared savings. As our commerce colleagues and as our U.S. trade representative colleagues succeed in encouraging other countries to pay more for existing medications, a portion of that will go to fund additional R&D, and a portion of that will integrate back to the United States to offset prices, lower prices further for America on those goods. The fifth principle, as this principle was passed off to Secretary London and Ambassador James Greer from U.S. Trade, is about Pfizer committing to onshore 100% of the value of all imports that are currently imported to the United States, thus ensuring that we scale our great American needs. If you're watching this right now, and you have been looking for evidence that this is a president who knows and you care about you and cares about you, who is fighting for you, who is fighting for every American, this is Exhibit A. This is not an empty promise. It's not platitude. It's not lacking a plan. These are hard contracts with teeth, lowering prices now that we will all feel. These are the most significant, historical, substantive, mathematically quantified price reductions in the history of our country in large pharmaceuticals. Cannot thank you enough for your leadership in enabling this to happen. It is an absolute pleasure. The President has showed us that the impossible can be achieved, and that is what's happened today. God bless America. With that in mind, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Albert Bourla, CEO of Pfizer.
President, what an honor to be here today in this office of one of the landmark. I think it's an historic day. I think by far. And I've seen other presidents' offices, it's not that. So it's an historic day because I think today we are turning the tide and we are reversing an unfair situation. For years, other rich nations refused to pay the fair share for medical innovation. And as a result, Americans had to assume disproportional costs on their soldiers. This situation, we all knew, is not sustainable. This situation is a situation that many wanted to change, but no one could. This is changing today, this agreement. In July, the President sent me and other heads of pharmaceutical companies a letter. And over there he articulated 4 specific requests. These requests, it was obvious to us, were designed to lower drug costs in the America in different ways, each one of them. And altogether, holistically, to have synergistic effect in the impact that that will have in the US healthcare costs and patients. With this deal that we signed today, we satisfied all 4 President requests. All 4. The big winner of this deal clearly will be the American patient. There is no doubt. They are the ones that will see significant impact in their ability to buy medicines. But I would argue that it is not the only winner. I think who else is a winner here? It is American innovation and American economy. In our industry, we had 2 major overhangs that have substantially reduced our valuations and create concerns for us in our ability to invest. We are addressing both of them right now that we speak about. The first one was the uncertainty of tariffs. Of course, President is absolutely right. Tariffs is the most powerful tool to motivate behavior, and clearly motivated ours. So, by this agreement that we did, we commit to also the production of our medicines that are consumed in the US and are made outside the US. And for that, we are ready to unleash our investment portfolio in this country. And the President graciously gave us a 3 years grace period, but we will not be subject to the 232 tariffs as long as, of course, we move the products here. That's one. The second overhang in our industry was this uncertainty. What will happen with the framework of price in the country? Because this uncertainty, it was what was holding people from investing in the pharmaceutical industry, which resulted in significant reduction of our multiples. Actually, our multiples are at historical low. Well, now we have clarity about what is the framework for the US price. Read the letter of President Trump, read the 4 points, and this is the framework. And we will abide to that, and going forward, this is how things will be priced in the US. We are ready to invest, as the President also mentioned, $70 billion in the next few years in Pfizer, in manufacturing and research,